Welcome, everybody. We'll get started shortly. Please be sure to come by and get something to eat. We have food, drinks. Help yourself. Alrighty, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and get us started as it is 5:30 and we want to be mindful of everybody's time today. So good evening and welcome. Today is Tuesday, June 14th, and we're excited to be back with you all for the Centro-Heber-Calexico Corridor monthly AB 617 Community Steering Committee meeting. My name is Madeline Rayon, but I go by Maddie, and I'm with Community Research. I'll be supporting and guiding today's conversation in conjunction with the Chair Belen Leon. We also have Air District and CCV staff assisting with the logistics today. So thank you everyone for being here. Before we continue, we just want to go over a couple of housekeeping items. So interpretation for CSC members. If you are a monolingual English or Spanish speaker, please, what was that? Oh, thank you so much. I'll stand over here to not be in the way of the agenda. So if you need some interpretation, please use the interpretation headset available at the check-in table. And we would like everyone to have access to today's information presented. So feel free to grab one if you don't have one. Si desea hacer uso de la interpretación, por favor utilice los audífonos que están disponibles en la mesa cerca de la entrada. De esta manera podrá escuchar la reunión en español. Si tiene algún problema con el uso de los audífonos, por favor avísenos y haremos lo posible por ayudarle. So just with our recording consent, please be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating in the meeting, you authorize the recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain. Members of the public can view the live stream for today's meeting in Spanish on the Facebook page of Comité Cívico del Valle and in English on the YouTube page of the County Air District. Today's meeting will include a recommendation from the Air District regarding meeting frequency, followed by a presentation from San Diego and Imperial County Sustainable Freight Implementation Strategy, also known as SANDAG, an informational item from ORMESA, and the CSC open discussion. So to cover some of our meeting materials for today, CSC members received an electronic copy of the agenda packet last week, and there are printed copies available at the check-in table at the front. For members joining us via YouTube and Facebook Live, you can visit the AB 617 website for this community to access the agenda. So with some of those details covered, I'm happy to walk us through the CSC procedures for public comment. If members of the general public would like to speak during the public comment period or after presentations, please raise your hand or turn your your nameplate cards, and we will call you in order. We ask that you please limit your comments to 2 minutes. If we have more public members than the time we've allotted for public comment, we will use the allotted time and finish the public comment item at the end of the meeting. If you would like to make additional comments, please feel free to submit comment cards, and the comment cards will be entered into the record. So the comment cards look like this, and they'll be available at the front desk as well. Members of the public may submit those comment cards to me, and we will read them during the public comment portion of the meeting. Facebook and YouTube viewers will also be able to submit comments on their corresponding platforms. Those comments will be read into the record during the public comment period. Questions from the public that do not get addressed will be answered in the frequently asked questions document following the meeting. A few more housekeeping items. So restrooms are located in this back hallway here on the side of the room. Feel free to use that whenever needed. We also have food and drinks located at the tables to my right and your left. So also feel free to help yourself. I encourage everyone to take breaks, get some food, drinks, stretches needed to ensure everybody's comfort. So with that said, does anyone have any questions about our housekeeping items? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. So as a reminder, we do have a pretty full agenda. If at any time the CSC wishes to table any agenda items, you may do so by introducing a motion. And periodically, I will be providing time checks just to keep us moving along. And so with that, I'm happy to pass it to Belen to share some opening remarks.
Okay, so yeah, it's working. Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, June 14th, 2023 meeting. I'm glad to see the members that are joining us today. We're going to have a very good agenda and agenda topics as well. I also welcome everybody from the public, from the community that are here today. We also have some community members from school districts, so I welcome them as well. And we're going to follow with the agenda. We're going to follow roll call.
Sounds good. Israel, did you want to pass me, or did you want to do the roll call, or I can do that? Okay. Thank you so much. So we're just going to go down the list, and as we call your name, just go ahead and raise your hand or stay here so we can account for your presence today. Tomás Oliva. Sergio Cabañas. René Felix. Michael Moore. Thank you. Mari Salazar. Thank you. John Hernandez. Thank you. Bob Fisher. Virginia Mendoza. Diana Garcia Ruiz. Paulo Alvarado. José Landeros. Gilberto Manzanares. Daniela Flores. And I think that's everybody. All right.
Yes.
Okay. I think that was everybody. Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. So one rule that we've implemented just following some of our notes from the last couple of meetings is just to say your name before you say a public comment. That way we can ensure we have accurate notes moving forward. Right. Thank you, Belen.
Just a quick announcement. Bob Fisher will no longer be with us. He has submitted a resignation letter from the AB 617, and we do want to thank him because he was here since the beginning of these meetings. So if he's hearing us or
Oh, that makes sense.
And like I said, mentioned, if he's hearing us, I just want to thank him for all these years that he was with us and his input and all his expertise. And we'll continue. Do we have any opening remarks from the CEC members? Seeing none at this time, we're going to continue with the agenda.
Thank you, Belen, for your opening remarks, and thank you, Israel, for your help as we did the roll call. So as you all know, community engagement is really important to ensure that we plan for these meetings with the community's input. And with that, I'm happy to open up our public comment period. If you would like to make a comment, please raise your hand so we can hand you the mic. Yes, we have a comment from one of our community members.
Good evening. My name is Jackie Valadez, and I'm a career technical education teacher at Southwest High School. I'm also the advisor for HOSA Future Health Professionals, which is a career technical student organization. And our leadership group is focused on promoting leadership skills for those students who are identifying their career path as healthcare. So we have that at our high school. I was invited today to see what this meeting was about and to also just let you know that we are interested as an organization in partnering with you and getting our HOSA members involved in community outreach. It aligns very well with our work plan. We have competitive events program for the HOSA program. It's an international organization. And one of the events is called Community Awareness. And I think this aligns very well for our students to engage in topics of environmental health. And so I'm looking forward to maybe brainstorming with the committee to see where our students at the high school level can maybe serve as some peer mentors and maybe present to partners in elementary schools or even in the community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you so much. Are there any other comments from our CSC members, from our community members? Yes, John.
John Hernandez, I just want to make a comment that if on our website, which I guess it's a 617 website is in the APCDs, that we haven't access to an updated list of our memberships. You know, who's on there. I haven't seen an updated list. And also, I brought it up before about updating the, the manual that we're using, information, not only of the information that's contained within also, but also there's still, the ones we got last week has names of leadership that are no longer around anymore, so we need that updated.
Those are very good points, John, and we are working on that. When we do update charters and anything else in that binder, we are going to involve the whole AB 617. It's a walking document, so we could revise it at any time. And I think it's about that time because we do have new members. So yes, we do welcome that comment.
Thank you, John and Belen. Do we have any other public comments? Yes, Daniela.
Daniela Flores. So just wanted to really appreciate the comments made earlier about the engagement with youth regarding engagement, mentorship opportunities. And I really feel like a lot of the members have expressed a desire to engage. And I thank you, Belen, and anyone else that kind of made the outreach to bring folks here, and would love to either propose actual agenda item in the future where we could, and I know for later I'll remind us about this item, but on that thread that we do maybe talk more about the kind of outreach that we'd like to see, the kind of engagement. I know that our funds do support outreach, and so maybe there is a stipend kind of program that we can support so that we have the high school students disseminating information to that age group, to the parents. And I really think it could be just really beneficial to look for partnerships like those with the high school clubs and different organizations that might be open to it.
Thank you, Daniela.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from those of us joining in person? Okay, I don't see any hands raised or any name cards turned. Just a quick check. Do we have any comments on our online platforms, Facebook or YouTube? Okay, no comments online. So thank you everybody for those comments, and I'm happy to transfer to the next item, which
Maddie,
is the...
just real quick, we
Yes.
have Christian here, so we can
Oh.
have his opening comments.
Oh, yes, welcome, Christian.
All right. Yeah, sorry for my tardiness, everybody. I was just driving from Raleigh. Yeah, I'd just like to welcome everybody. Nice to see all these faces again, and nice to see the audience being filled up. I know that was one of the things we discussed last time about getting more folks in. It's nice to see that happen.
Thank you, Christian, and welcome. All righty, so I'm happy to transition us to the approval of
just
the
wanted-
minutes. Oh, yes, Mary.
Maybe since, the public community that's here right now, could we, if we have time, then present themselves, who they are, and so that we know who's coming to these meetings, if we have time?
Yeah, definitely can. I'll make a note of that. Thank you so much, Mary. All righty. And was that also your final comment or, okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. All righty. Any other lingering thoughts to share before we move to the approval of the meeting minutes? Okay, sounds good. All right, so the CSC is being asked to vote for the approval of the meeting minutes for 2 sets of meeting minutes. During the May meeting, CSC members requested that the April 12th meeting minutes be amended to accurately reflect the discussion. Those meeting minutes have been amended and they're included in your agenda packets. We will begin by having CSC members vote for the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting on April 12th, 2020. At this point, the chair is looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
So move. John Hernandez moves for approval.
Thank you, John. Is there a second? Thank you. Thank you. Is there any discussion regarding this item? Okay, and so we will now call on each of the CSC members to vote.
There's another one over there. Let me walk over there.
Israel, don't be shy. You could take a seat.
I'll take a seat. Michael Moore?
Yes.
Mary Salazar? Yes. John Hernandez? Virginia Mendoza? Pablo Alvarado?
Yes.
José Landeros?
Yes.
And Gilberto Manzanares?
Yes.
Daniela Flores?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Right, thank you so much. We will now ask for a motion to approve the May 9th, 2023 meeting minutes. The chair is looking for a motion to approve the minutes.
Yes, this is Michael Moore. I submit the approval for the minutes for the May meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second, Mary Salazar.
Thank you. Is there any discussion regarding the May meeting minutes? Okay, and we will now call on each member to vote one more time.
Michael Moore?
Yes.
Mary Salazar?
Yes.
John Hernandez?
Yes.
Virginia Mendoza?
Yes.
Pablo Alvarado?
Yes.
José Landeros?
Yes.
Gilberto Manzanares?
Yes.
Daniela Flores?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you so much. Alrighty, so I'm happy to move us along to our next agenda item. Again, thank you CSC members for participating in the approval of our minutes for April and May. And we will now proceed to the next agenda item, which is a meeting calendar recommendation from the Air District based on the CSC's feedback provided during our last two meetings. Please note that the proposed schedule was provided in your agenda packet. The Air District will provide some framing around the recommendation, and you may also ask questions and/or any clarifications during this time. The goal for today is for the CSC to vote on this item. However, the CSC may opt to table the discussion or propose a different meeting schedule. And I will now pass on to Israel.
Just a brief discussion for those who were not here or last meeting. Typically, AB 617 meetings for the current corridor are the second Wednesday of the month. We will continue having these meetings as is, unless there's a holiday or there's an approval from the CEC members that that day is not going to work. Also, the reason we're doing this, as you know, we were approved for the AB 617 North End. So we're trying to schedule the meetings on both ends, the north and the south. So this is another reason why we have a schedule now.
Okay, and just to add to that, Israel Hernandez, that's the whole purpose of coming to this meeting with the schedule, so that we could actually act or vote on a schedule, so that we have it set, and then we could plan our meetings for the north end accordingly too. Your support's greatly appreciated.
So Maddie, this is an action item. We would request your assistance on this.
Yes, definitely. So with that, it is open to, yes, Mary.
Looking at the calendar, I wanted to suggest with the members, if they agree, and I guess we have to vote on this. For August, since everybody's on vacation for the summer school, maybe make a switch for the Zoom to be instead of in person for August. I mean, the date's fine, but just do a switch in case everybody's out of town. Those are kind of the holiday, summer, and switch it for the September instead of Zoom. Just like a switch. I don't know if it's just an idea I'm throwing out there. Right?
Yeah, so if nobody has an opposed, so it means that in August, we will have a Zoom meeting, and September we'll have an in-person meeting. So that is the switch.
That works.
So Israel Hernandez again, just one thing to I guess comment on that is that we do have RFPs that are out for bid, and that time period will close tomorrow, the 15th. So we were trying to get those applications ready for maybe recommending approval for the August meeting. But I mean, we could also do that through Zoom. So that's up to you if you would want to have it Zoom or in person.
You make that motion, Mary, also.
Okay, so motion to change the in-person meeting for August. Date is to be the same, and September to be in person instead of Zoom. Motion? I motion that.
I second that.
Sorry, I think I just didn't turn the switch all the way. Thank you, Mary, and thank you, John. Is there any discussion? Yes, Paulo.
Hi, Paolo Alvarado. Just looking at the calendar before getting to Mary's motion, is there not going to be a meeting scheduled for July? I don't see it on here, so just confirming.
It's actually on an action item as well to go
Okay.
dark in July.
Okay.
Typically, a lot of people are in vacation, and we have, I think for the past year as well, we did July as a dark month.
Just to also add a little more context, Pablo, we Comité and the agency has been working on establishing the North End CSC. So we also wanted to use a little bit of that time to get that up and running.
Great. That was my other question. I just wanted to see, is the plan to do the off weeks or the Zoom meeting in person in Brawley? Are they going to be the same day, or you guys?
So that hasn't
taking a
been
different-
decided, but because the committee has to come together and make those like scheduling decisions and how they want to interact. And I think we're still working on setting like the initial kickoff date with those CSC members.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paulo. Daniela?
Daniela Flores. The schedule sounds good to me. I do think that one, I just had a question. Can you remind me the RFPs that are out? What's the strategy? And then, or like the intervention, or I think it's called strategy. And then, I think this is a really important step, approving funds. I know that Calexico didn't really have any projects approved last time, and I really want to make sure that really Calexico hopefully has had the chance to submit something, or at least that there are some. So anyway, I have a lot of thoughts of how the last process took place and like really what this one will look like. I know that back then the committee did make some requests to make sure that we were in agreement of how we will make the selections. And I know we won't be discussing it for a long time until we vote. And so I did wonder if, and maybe this is for later, but this influences the decision, because I think you're spot on. When we're not in person, we're not able to have a more dynamic conversation sometimes. And it's like, there's a lot of money on the line. And I think that that would be my only reason for trying to have some discussions in person. And maybe this is for another moment and you can let me know, but I am interested to see if maybe it's not part of the committee, but could some committee members work with your staff to provide some input about how the proposed process, that way when we come in August, there's been some input given around how to make those decisions together.
Yeah, you're right, Daniela. That process is not going to change. At this time, the request for proposals is out. Remind me the closing dates, July?
June
okay.
15th, tomorrow is the closing date for
For
the bus replacement and
Mhm.
for the EV charging infrastructure
Okay.
RFPs.
So the process for that is going to be the same. We're going to review, do the analysis, do the review, do the emission reductions. We're going to bring it back to the CEC to know what type of projects are, you want to say fundable, and which ones, and the CEC is going to vote on them. Same process as last time.
I guess the feedback about last time was that we were supposed to make decisions about like 20 projects or some really large number, and it really wasn't adequate time to go through a meaningful discussion in the ways that we can, right? And so I would say I don't want to feel pressured to make decisions in that day. I would like to see them and then, probably have a discussion of, I don't know how many you will receive, and I think that matters too. And so I'll just say, if you see that there are so many that it really won't allow for meaningful discussion and having to make a decision that day, I would encourage us to split them into both months. And that way we have one on Zoom and one on in person, and that we are giving ourselves the proper time to process and make decisions.
Israel Hernandez, that's something that's, I mean, I see that as a really good idea as far as once we get the applications. I mean, if there's like a, I mean, like a NAHAG or like a subcommittee that we would be able to kind of go over the process and also over the projects so that we could actually categorize them or prioritize them to something that we could come back to the committee in the month of August and present for action.
So as you know, we did have a technical advisory committee before. And I say before because some of the members did leave, right? So we plan on doing that once again. That way the technical advisory committee is able to focus on the type of projects that they want to see and approve.
And I'll just continue with that one. Just to add, I mean, we also do have an RFP for paving projects. That includes parking lots and roads, and that's all within the corridor too. That RFP is going to end August 11th, I believe.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniela, for your questions, and Belen and Israel for your responses. Are there any other items to discuss following Mary's proposal to switch our Zoom meeting to August and our in-person meeting to September? Okay, anything from the community or anything on our online platforms? All right, so nothing online, so thank you very much. I think we can go ahead and call for a motion to switch the month for the Zoom meeting and the in-person meeting from August to September. Would someone like to call the motion?
Have we voted on the current motion?
Yeah, there's a motion on the floor with the
Just you second.
Okay, got it. Would someone like to second?
John.
You already did.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Need to vote.
We're ready
All
for
right,
a vote.
yes, a vote.
Okay.
Thank you, Israel.
All right, Michael,
Yes.
Mary Salazar,
Yes.
John Hernandez,
Yes.
Virginia Mendoza,
Yes.
Paulo Alvarado,
Yes.
José Landeros,
Yes.
Gilberto Manzanares,
Yes.
Daniela Flores.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Right, thank you, everyone. So I think we still have open time for any additional questions.
I don't think the motion was to also approve the calendar. I think the motion was just to switch
Yes.
before we move on.
Yes. Thank you, Christian. And I think the conversation is still available to, if there are any other questions or comments from the CSC members regarding the proposed schedule, please feel free to share. Yes, Jose.
Yeah, just one question. The in-person meetings will be here all the time?
The intention is to continue having them in the same, ideal middle ground, which is here, Heber. But if the CSC wants us to have them in the different corridor, which is Calexico or El Centro, you let us know. We could make that swap as well.
Yeah, just thinking that probably at some point more persons from the public want to attend it and just make it closer to them sometimes.
Thank you. Are there any other considerations, questions, comments from our CSC members on the proposed calendar for our CSC meetings? Yes, John.
Yeah, I agree with that we should try to move them around, one in Calexico, one in Heber, one in El Centro, and then go back, because those are our three major, incorporated areas within the corridor, so. I
We'll
think
take
it'd be a
that
good
into
idea
consideration. That's
to
definitely,
drum up the support, and especially now that we got interest in El Centro from Southwest, well, they could bring a contingent to the meeting in El Centro.
No, definitely. There wasn't a motion
We didn't even
last
have the
time.
meeting there.
Yeah, no, and that's how we've been having them for the past 4 years. We would swap from Calexico to Heber, El Centro, and back and forth. So I think it's a fair comment.
Thank you, John. And was that also your final comment, or did you have? Awesome. Thank you so much. Are there any other comments, questions, or inputs from our CSC members regarding our 2023 calendar proposal?
It looks good to me. Daniela.
Great. I don't see any hands from our CSC members or any turned cards. So I can open it up to our public guests who are joining us. Are there any questions regarding the calendar proposal?
I'd just like to add that we could work with the committee to host it at Southwest. So depending on the date, and we get the schedule and book it early. So we could work together on that.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons as well. Not all the venues have the capability of what we have now or even hybrid. So thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for your comment. Any other, just opening it up to everyone who's attending in person and online. Are there any questions, comments, or inputs from our online platforms regarding the 2023 calendar? No? Okay. Sounds good. Belen, Christian, Israel, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Israel Hernandez, the only thing, we have a motion?
Yeah, motion to approve the calendar as stated with the previous change of the Zoom and in-person switch.
Thank you, Daniela. Is there a second?
I'll second. Mary Salazar. Mary Salazar seconds.
Thank you, Mary. We can open it up to the vote.
Michael Moore? Yes. Mary Salazar?
Yes.
John Hernandez?
Yes.
Virginia Mendoza?
Yes.
Paulo Alvarado?
Yes.
José Landeros?
Yes.
Gilberto Manzanares?
Yes.
Daniela Flores?
Yes.
Motion passes.
This is a very good way to learn all the CSC members' faces and names.
I agree, Belen. Thank you. All right. Thank you to our CSC members, our community members, and those who are joining online for a great discussion on our calendar for the coming year. With that, we are a little bit ahead of schedule, so I will look to our co-chairs to see if it's good to continue to our SANDAG presentation.
Yeah, so we'll go to our next item, which is presentations. We have, and I believe they're online. So for the San Diego and Imperial County Sustainable Freight Implementation Strategy, we have SANDAG. Hi and welcome.
Hi, Belen. And if I may, this is Virginia Mendoza. I just wanted to do some brief opening remarks. Since this is a collaborative work that the Imperial County Transportation Commission has been doing with the San Diego Association of Governments, Mariela Rodriguez and Tim Garrett are both in attendance via Zoom, and they have been the project leads on behalf of the San Diego Association of Governments. I just wanted to express my appreciation for all of their hard work in working in this collaborative San Diego Imperial County Sustainable Freight Implementation Strategy. So with that said, I'll go ahead and let Mariela. Thank you.
I think there's some audio issues, Mariela.
Yeah, Mariela, we cannot hear you. Can we dim the lights a little bit? Can we? Or is everybody okay? Can they see it okay?
Can you hear me? Or no?
Perfect, thank you.
Yes.
Yes?
Can you hear us, Mariela? We could hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Great. So once again, my name is Mariela Rodriguez. Thank you for having us here. I'm a senior regional planner at SANDAG with the Goods Movement team within the planning department. And I'm here today with my colleague, Tim Garrett, like Virginia said, and thank you for the introduction, Virginia. We are here to provide an overview on the San Diego and Imperial County's Sustainable Freight Implementation Strategy. Next slide, please. So freight is an essential part of our regional economy, and it plays a significant role in our daily lives. And this was very clear during the pandemic with the supply chain issues that we all experienced with the shortage of masks and chips for electronic and medical devices, among many other things. We also know that communities near and around freight facilities bear a disproportionate burden when it comes to air quality and pollution. So in order to address some of these issues and meet the state regulatory regulations, SANDAG and the Imperial County Transportation Commission, along with Caltrans, have been developing this freight strategy for a sustainable freight strategy. So the plan intends to create a more sustainable supply chain network through regional freight projects and policies that reduce emissions, but also foster trade to meet the state climate, air quality, and public health goals. The key implementation objectives are on the screen, and basically is to develop and strengthen partnerships between public agencies and the private sector, as well as address environmental justice concern from freight impacts. Also to provide, to pilot innovative technologies, identify federal, state, and any additional funding sources that we can use for implementation of these strategies. And lastly, also to address workforce gaps in implementing these new technologies by creating a workforce development toolkit. Next slide, please. So here's the timeline of the project. And since the project kicked off a year ago, the team conducted literature review and analysis of best practices in sustainable freight projects and policies. And through the development of the best practices, we learned many things. And for example, the city of Santa Monica, California recently became the first city in the United States to pilot a zero emission delivery zone. We also engaged in a number of public outreach efforts, which I will cover in more detail in the next slide. And in the next several months, we will be developing the implementation plan, which Tim will cover and discuss in further towards the end of the presentation. We are looking at wrapping up the project in early 2024. Next slide, please. So over the course of the project this far, the team has been seeking feedback from various stakeholders through a wide range of outreach efforts. As we know, freight affects everyone. So we developed a comprehensive outreach plan to engage stakeholders throughout this study. We conducted 10 stakeholder interviews and held 4 focus groups that were virtual from sectors including health organizations, community-based organizations, workforce development, and labor organizations, as well as the freight industry and business organizations. Last month, we closed the comment period for the public survey, and the survey was open to the public for 5 weeks. And the team reached out to numerous CBOs, community-based organizations, and tribal groups. We received over 150 responses from both San Diego and Imperial County. And we are currently incorporating that feedback into the prioritization of the strategies. We presented to numerous committees and working groups, and also participated in a number of community events. So with all this outreach, what did we learn through these efforts? Some of the themes that outreach revealed was that freight is, for some, a very visible issue, and impacts are felt very like in their everyday life. For others, it's a further issue that might not be as visible. There's also a lot of enthusiasm for reducing environmental and equity impacts from the community, from the freight industry, but there are also concerns that the regulation imposes a burden on the freight industry, which will need to pass on some of the cost that goes along with that to customers. And there are also economic concerns of sustainability of the businesses that are currently operating in the freight industry. We also learned that the workforce development organizations, colleges, and labor organizations are already developing new programs and curriculum to implement and maintain these new technologies, and heard from them that there is a need to recruit workers and match them up with the right programs. Next slide, please. The team developed a project evaluation process where we looked at the existing projects from regional plans, both in the San Diego region and the Imperial County region. But we also developed new projects and strategies. With that goal in mind, the team developed the screening criteria to balance the different priorities of the sustainable freight strategy, which is shown on the left-hand side of the screen. The screening framework considerations include equity, where we looked at whether the project would benefit vulnerable and most vulnerable communities. Also the environment, where we consider the potential impact of the project on reducing emissions and pollutants, and also economy and competitiveness, which consider improvements in efficiency and capacity of the freight industry. On the right-hand side, you can see the type of projects that we analyze, such as the port of entry projects, rail projects, etc. And the high priority projects through this prioritization process will be considered for inclusion in regional plans if deemed appropriate. And Virginia can elaborate more on that if needed. So to provide you with a few examples of the strategies that we are evaluating and next steps for the project, I'm going to pass it on to Tim. Tim, take it away.
Great. Thank you, Mariela. The next slide. So according to our economic, equity, and environmental considerations, some of those highest priority strategies include some of the ones depicted here. So we have truck-only lanes on segments of roadways where we know that trucks are going to be traveling. And this would include facilities like industrial and warehouse districts, rail yards, and ports of entry. And then further analysis would definitely be needed as to whether this would be for certain hours or all the time, but we think it's a promising strategy. The grade separations are a fancy name, but they're really just projects to separate conflict points between streets and railroads. So it's an intersection where the railroad crosses a street, and separating them onto different levels so they don't have conflict would mostly benefit surface traffic by reducing idling, as well as the safety concerns. Truck parking areas are an important area of consideration because truck drivers need to rest in accordance with federal regulations. So ultimately, providing places for them to rest while they're on their shift is a safety consideration, and it really benefits all of us. So there's already existing rest areas operated by Caltrans throughout the state. They have existing truck parking areas. And so an opportunity is to add amenities such as HVAC hookups, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, zero emission charging and fueling. So these types of amenities would allow drivers to rest and recharge and not idle while they're doing so. It's good for the trucks and it's good for the drivers. And it supports if you include zero emission charging, it supports the build out of a regional network of publicly accessible charging and fueling stations, which is consistent with state goals. And it's also typical, especially in our region, for truck drivers to spend multiple hours waiting to cross at commercial ports of entry all along the Baja California border. And this results in air pollution, greenhouse gas emissions, and reduced economic output. So as we transition to zero emission trucks and consistent with the direction that the state is going with a lot of regulations, we're thinking about whether or not electric trucks, which is one form of zero emission technology, whether those can get through queues at the border without depleting their batteries. So for this strategy, we're proposing to support the development of innovative zero emission charging technology, really pushing the forefront of how we can continue to charge those vehicles. And then some specific opportunities in Imperial County. We've highlighted that the building of truck bypass routes would be a good local option, because in Imperial County, there's lots of places where truck routes, intercity routes go right down the main street of some small towns. So the strategy here would be to divert them around the communities rather than right down main streets. So that would be beneficial for noise, beneficial for safety. And then the example given here is the State Route 86 and 78 in Westmoreland. But there's multiple opportunities for that to be implemented. Next is a commercial vehicle port of entry appointment system. So this strategy would allow truck drivers who are planning to cross the border, allow them to reserve a time to cross the border, which would reduce the queuing and the idling, and it would overall be more efficient. And this strategy has been highlighted in the California-Baja California Border Master Plan. And the Calexico East Port of Entry in particular has been identified as a location to pilot this concept. So this would also support the broader strategy in the Community Emissions Reduction Plan, the CERP, for Calexico, Heber El Centro, of reducing truck idling and other impacts at the border. Another strategy is upgrading truck parking areas with zero emission charging and fueling facilities. So Caltrans, like I said, operates some, but there's also some private ones where this could be implemented, such as the Love's Truck Stop that opened recently in Westmoreland. And so recognizing that interregional routes also have, in many cases, agricultural vehicles and other slow-moving vehicles, there's a safety benefit on those roads to providing passing lanes, turn pockets, and hardened shoulders, such as State Route 115. And then grade separations all along the Union Pacific Freight Rail Corridor, which runs north-south through the county. But especially we heard feedback that separating where that railroad crosses State Route 98, as well as Cole Boulevard in Calexico, where there's many conflicts with surface traffic, would be some of the best places to start with that. And so next steps in our project include identifying the high-level cost estimates for some of those strategies that best meet our evaluation criteria, and then look at available funding programs at the state and federal level, as well as the private level, for potential options, and see how they match up with our proposed strategies. So all of this together will help us determine how these strategies should be phased for implementation in both San Diego and Imperial counties. We'll then identify training programs, which are going to be geared towards providing the workforce with the skills needed to operate and maintain new technologies and infrastructure. So with the direction the state's going, there's all kinds of new zero emission requirements, and two of the technologies that are likely to be used for some of these heavy duty trucks include electric as well as hydrogen. So a lot of this fueling infrastructure distribution is going to result in a need for many new skills. And so the workforce development agencies are already working on developing these curricula, as Mariela mentioned, but overcoming the challenge of finding workers and matching them with these training programs is really important. And so we also continue to continue to engage with groups throughout the San Diego and Imperial counties as we continue the project. And so this is our last slide. I have their contact information here. Mariela is the project manager for the study. Virginia Mendoza, member of our project development team for Imperial County Transportation Commission, and myself, Tim Garrett. And so with that, thank you all for your attention and time to present this this evening. And we're happy to answer any questions about the project, and would love to hear from you. I'll turn it back over.
Thank you so much, Mariela, Tim, and Virginia, for bringing this forth to us today. I'm happy to open it up to the CSC members with any questions or comments. Daniela.
Thank you so much for your presentation. That was really helpful. I don't think I had heard about this before. One question that might be for the co-chairs. I'm not remembering, but is this one of our strategies already within the SERP?
Not to this level.
Okay.
I think the SERP strategies were more towards the funding that we have available. But I mean, this is great because now we know that Sandan Countess and ICTC working together, they have these bigger projects that may bring it down to or county, right? I mean, these are not thousands of dollars, these are millions of dollars that are being used for these type of projects. So hopefully, future wise, it'll help us bring down more funding. Maybe continue the dialogue and see how these projects progress.
Yeah, thank you. The second comment or question would be whether at this stage you have estimates as to the carbon emission reduction, like either units or like how these strategies sort of correlate with the reduction of emissions. But maybe that's just in the down the line because they're innovative strategies, but I assume you're kind of working off of either modeling or other examples. And I'd just be really curious to see the magnitude, especially because we look at emission reductions and based on the strategies that we implement here. And I would just love a comparison in terms of the magnitude of kind of impact. But thank you.
Yes, if I may just add on Virginia Mendoza, one of the primary reasons as to why we wanted to present this item to this group is because of the Calexico-Heber-El Centro Corridor being one of the most highly impacted by goods movement because of the proximity to the ports of entry. Not so much, not really in direct correlation with like seeking financial support, more so for seeking input and bringing this to the forefront at the high level that it is. So as Mariela and Tim had mentioned, this is a direct response to state mandates coming down the line and wanting to really part of what makes successful implementation or changes, hopefully good changes that we can be planning for the region would be to create strategies such as these. So where we have a much better perspective of what's impacting us and what type of opportunities we could seek for, and from everything from road, truck routes that may need improvements, from a safety perspective, right? Because we obviously all share the roads. We all have, unfortunately encountered or known of like bad instances along Forester Road, for example, that have had fatalities, right? Because of, or SR 115 as one of the projects that were identified that really do have needs for like intersection improvements, like safety type improvements, turning pockets and things of that nature. And other things that are maybe perhaps more innovative, obviously, and as Belen mentioned, very, very costly, like appointment systems at the Calexico East Port of Entry. But that's one thing we see as an opportunity with like the bridge widening project that's currently happening at the Calexico East Port of Entry. There may be an opportunity to leverage that widening that's currently happening and an opportunity to link. And this hopefully gives a little bit more context, Daniela, to your comment, which is be able to link some of those trucks that use the Calexico East Port of Entry for maybe the short hauls that maybe are utilizing like electric trucks, the shorter hauls that could maybe take advantage of these appointment systems. And these, of course, are just ideas at this point that haven't necessarily been vetted or so. But we just thought it was very valuable to bring it to this particular group because of the work that's done at the more localized level with, the projects that are identified for, the bus replacements, things that are much more tangible that we can see. But this, we've thought you guys are like the prime group that could maybe provide some more insight or can provide more value as well to this effort.
Thank you, Daniela, Belen, and Virginia. John? Okay, go for it, please.
So it's great. Like it's a lot of food for thought in this, and there's just three major players that I think need to be engaged in this whole process. Which, number one, the ones who control the mobile sources of pollution in our community, which is the California Air Resources Board, and working with you and us. And the other is the agriculture industry, in view that they are the major economic driver and the major user of all these goods and services that are moved throughout this community. And third, there's a new effort through the United States Environmental Protection Agency for border communities, disadvantaged communities, and they're allocated under the what's it called? The Inflation Reduction Act or something like that, $3 billion to address this. So there's funding sources there, which is greatly needed in our community for this. So I just think that those have to be addressed. And then the other one is that we are on the cusp of the lithium development, even though it's not specifically in this corridor, it's going to be in Imperial County. And of course, you talk about regional traffic and trucking and so forth. So the plan that they're currently working on, which is the regional environmental, what's it called? Programmatic impact report, environmental impact report, certainly has to have these things and routes. And definitely I see all over the corridor what's gotten out of hand, and trucks going through communities and parking in communities, and clandestine truck parkings and containers and all this stuff. Just down the street here, there's about half a dozen of them at the corner. So definitely these things are impacting our community disproportionately, no doubt. So those are just my observations. And then the other one is there's a lot of goods and services and billions of dollars moving through the community. And yes, there's some revenues that communities get from, sales taxes or fuel taxes, or, like they stop at these truck stops and leave monies. So also that has to, be figured in and factored in as to whether or not we're getting our fair share, or we're missing some of that in these researches that's going on. So I'll stop there. I got a few more ideas, but I'll stop there.
Thank you, John. I think we have enough time for another one or two comments from our CSC members. Paulo, I see your name card is turned.
Yes, thank you, Paolo Alvarado. I just wanted to comment, a great presentation, lots of really interesting and really exciting ideas that are on there. But I'd like to understand how this committee can help promote, or what can we do to support these efforts? Because right now, really, it's coming out that they're just ideas, right? So for Mariela and Tim, what can we do to support this? Because, for a lot of the community members, we don't see all of these things that are happening at the high level, or that are kind of at conceptual points in the process. But man, just reading some of these, direct influence to a lot of the community. I'm a Calexico resident. So some of these are they're just very exciting to hear about and say, well, when is this going to happen? And I understand that these aren't things that are planned. So looking for kind of some suggestions on how the committee and the communities can get more involved or support, what options are there out there, or is there anything that Sandag and Caltrans and ICTC are seeking from the community as far as being able to support this or help to move this forward?
Sorry, I think I didn't get your name. but thank you for your question. And I'm gonna let Virginia chime in. But what I would obviously we are developing this strategy that is a very comprehensive strategy for both counties, and we are through the prioritization process. And I think that ultimately this is a tool for the regions to take the different recommendations and projects that we are putting forward to pursue as the community see fit. So Virginia, I don't know if you want to chime in on that.
Yes, thank you, Mariela. I know that there was mention of the survey that was open. I know that it was shared. I'm not really sure if I did share it with the group to be able to disseminate to the group when it was open, but I think that was still when we were all in the hybrid or virtual. So I'm not sure if that was we weren't doing this presentation prior to that, so maybe perhaps that didn't resonate at that point. But I can make sure to forward the information that we have right now and make sure if there's any input that the group can support at a more local level or a more tangible level. The Imperial County Transportation Commission is currently updating its long-range transportation plan that does include goods movement and a lot of the projects that were discussed as far as grade separation and those types of projects that are very much aligned with this strategy, the freight strategy that's discussed today. So, and that currently is open to, and it's very focused to Imperial County. So if there any input that could be provided for that plan would very much support at the local level. So I can bring that up to this group, and it would be Imperial County specific. And that is a lot more comprehensive. It's inclusive beyond the goods movement discussion of today.
Thank you. And before checking in with our community members, anybody online? Paulo, thank you. Daniela, I saw your card too. Are you?
Daniela Flores, I really just wanted to lend support to what John was mentioning regarding, how, our community is the one that bears the burden on all this industry that flows around us. And I think that maybe there should be some tax or something, some exchange or some benefit to our community that come with these new projects that, again, yes, at some level help reduce emissions, but also, help the industry thrive here. Thank you.
Thank you, CSC members. Oh, John, yes, please.
I have a question. I think I noticed in the first part of the presentation, I didn't pick up one of those pamphlets that there was surveys that were being conducted, and I think it was been going on for like 5 months already. This survey, 5 weeks. So was there an effort for community engagement and outreach with this, or is it ongoing, or has it already been done?
Virginia Mendoza, that already closed. We did distribute it. It was distributed to the staff to distribute to the group, to the mailing group, but as well as other community organizations. So there was an effort. It was all virtual, and we did provide the opportunity to provide actual hard copies as well, to make it as flexible as possible for those that didn't feel as comfortable to provide the input virtually. But at this point, yeah, it was open for 5 weeks. I'm not sure if you caught that, Mariela. I see you.
Sorry, it's really hard to hear what you guys are talking about. I think I caught that the question was about the survey.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And where we advertise the survey? Was that the question?
Yes. So I did mention that we did do distribution of the survey, but it was open for 5 weeks, correct?
Mm-hmm.
and
Yes.
that's been closed. But as far as other future opportunities to provide input, will there be future opportunities to provide input on the plan? I guess that's just a follow-up question too, since the survey is already closed.
So the public survey period unfortunately closed. We reached out to several community-based organizations in both counties, and I know that several cities, and I think the county of Imperial also posted on their social media platforms, and we did receive feedback from members of Imperial County, but unfortunately the public survey period closed a couple weeks ago. But we are happy to receive any feedback that you want to email us. Our contact information is there, and we are happy to continue to incorporate any feedback or comments that the public has.
Thank you. I think we can take one more question from our CSC members.
Gilberto Manzanares. So I just want to ask a few more questions regarding this survey. How many do you have the data that was collected from this survey? I'm really interested to know how many responses we received, individual responses from the community of the Imperial Valley, as well as how many we received from the San Diego County. Also, if this survey, it just kind of comes off as it was very centralized and not really like put out there for the community. Because I never even found out about this survey, and I consider myself to be like, I mean, I am pretty educated and engaged person, and I wasn't even aware of the survey. So I'm just wondering what type of like outreach campaigns were done for this, and if it's equitable as the way that it was done in the Imperial County and the San Diego County. I don't know if you could elaborate a little bit on that, like the findings of these surveys.
Mariela, I'm not sure if you caught that question. Is that okay too? Okay, Virginia Mendoza.
I caught like little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
I think he asked, and I'm sorry, I couldn't hear your name either. But I think the question was that how many responses were received for Imperial County as opposed to San Diego County?
Correct.
And what channels we use to spread the word about the survey? Is that the question?
Correct.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't have offhand the exact breakdown between the two counties of the number of survey responses that we received. I know total we got over 150 responses. And I'm gonna rely a little bit on you, Virginia, if you
Yes.
can kind of like talk a little bit about the CBOs and the different organizations that you got in touch to spread the word.
Yes, I can elaborate on that since so we did the distribution to the Imperial Mexicali Binational Alliance Group, the APCD, and Comité Cívico del Valle, as well as the social. We distributed to you as well, Daniela, to you, the equity and social justice. So we did a distribution to the community organizations. As far as helping, I know that Christian, I know you were participating in some of the focus groups as well. So we did receive participation from Comité Cívico del Valle representatives, as well as some of other healthcare representatives from the city of the Community Calexico. So we did do a distribution. As far as, and as Mariela also pointed out, there was postings done with the county as well on the website. We did try different outreach. Unfortunately, I think that because of the subject matter, it's not necessarily as much of a tangible subject matter, unfortunately, I think, to the community. So perhaps that was definitely a lessons learned from our perspective in order to be able to best garner like community input. This has been even from the actual we also targeted, for example, the provider, so the trucking community as well. So the actual we received databases from from CHP, from CBP. So we tried different types of outreach. Fortunately, it's this is like as you said, 150 doesn't sound like a huge number, but when it comes to freight and goods movement, I'm sure that Mariela and Tim, who are gurus on goods movement, they'll tell you that's actually a pretty decent number because of the subject matter, unfortunately. But as you said, you're welcome if there's any additional input. I'd be happy to relay it over to the PM.
Just want to, for the record, just want to clear out, I remember now I did take the survey. Ya se me olvidó.
No, good for you. And I know we have to move on, but I do want to say I remember seeing it, and anyway, I just looked it up right now to try to see, like, you all even provided like the blurbs, and like I see your efforts to like make it really accessible for groups like ours that most of our work is not funded. Like, we just don't get to many things. And like you said, the topic didn't resonate as much since I have never really learned about the strategy here. So again, just thanks for the efforts to do that, and also the opportunity to continue contributing to it. And yeah, sorry for not getting back to you.
Thank you. Thank you to our CSC members for those questions and comments. Wanted to see if anybody from our community has any questions. We have
Hello, good evening. My name is Monica Sucia. I'm with the Air Pollution Control District. Can you hear me, Mariela?
Yes.
Oh, well, I'm trying to speak a little louder here, and I apologize to the people here. So I don't think this is really so much a question as it is a comment. Okay, so as you know, our MPO is SCAG, and one of the issues that we've had in the APCD when we're doing emission reduction calculations, whether it be a localized or a regional calculation, is we don't have the counters down on the freeways or even on the entrances and exit. Is this program that you guys are proposing at any point, can there be a request to Caltrans to start putting those counters down? San Diego has them all over the place. And what we've done in the past is we've gotten junctions where they have those counters, and we've extrapolated statistically through population density. So is that a possibility in your program? Even if, I know you're targeting idling, you're targeting the concept of idling, and I realize that the current regulation exempts trucks from continuing to idle if they're trying to keep their cabs cool. And during this intense heat, they have to do it. So it's extremely important to be able to say, okay, we now have a fleet of electric vehicles that are trucks that are coming down the border, but we're not going to know the reductions. We can't do a zero because we don't know the actual inventory. I know you didn't catch it because this microphone is cutting. That's what the problem is.
So Mariela, Monica Sucier is our planning division manager, and she's the lead with all the state implementation plans, rules, and regulations. And this type of information is really important to not only her, but the whole APCD when it comes to the state implementation plans. And I think it's a good venue for us to question this type of thing, or to see if there's a possibility future-wise to include this type of analysis.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I
Maria-
would say, I don't know if we can answer that at the moment, but noted that is, I agree, something that needs to be considered. So we'll definitely bring that up with Caltrans. This study is funded by Caltrans and we meet with them regularly. So we'll definitely bring that up with them and encourage that.
Thank you so much. Want to see if there was one more question from our community or anything online. Okay. So no hands are raised, nothing online. So again, thank you so much, Sandag and Virginia, for your presentation today. We really appreciate your time. Belen, was there anything you'd like to share?
Just real quick, I mean, I do appreciate John's, Paolo's, and questions and comments, because this is why the CSC is here. I mean, we have the opportunity to comment on these type of programs or projects, just like the long-range plan or the programmatic EIR, and service like this. However, we have to be more diligent in how we distribute that information, just not to think it's another spam mail, right? Another thing I think point would be to have these type of presentations prior to, that way they know what the survey is about. Because sometimes we receive surveys and we really don't know what the point is, right? We see all these things and I know we're important, but we don't know how to respond to them. So, and that's not only this, it's, I mean, any type of rule in a regulation or anything that we do, we have provide service, it's good to get the feedback before, prior to the surveys. So like I said, we as the community, or you as the community, know exactly what's happening in your area, in Calexico and El Centro, in Heber. And like John mentioned, he knows where the trucks are passing by, but not, the state doesn't know that, or other people who live in or it doesn't matter in other areas, but it does impact us. So we're one community in a way. So thank you for those comments.
Thank you, Belen. Okay, I am happy to transition us now into a break. Thank you again, Sandag and Virginia, for your presentation, and to everybody here today for your questions and comments. So we will spend the next 5 minutes up until 6:54. Please use this time to take a break, stretch, get some more food, use the restroom, and I'll call us back with a 1-minute warning to continue our conversation today. Thanks, everyone. No, my name's Maggie, and I'm with I'm just trying to get to know.
Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, you're doing a great job, Mary.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm never
Mm-hmm. Okay, of course. Okay, how you doing? ¿Cómo estás, mija?
Bien, bien, ¿usted?
Yeah, you got replaced. Ah. Uh-huh. It was really good. She would call me and I would call her. I need help. I had her direct number. I don't know how to. Mm-hmm.
I know, I remember you would say.
Very helpful. Very helpful. I don't know I would have done it without her.
Oh, yeah, I definitely had a great example with that. Oh, she had car trouble this morning. Oh, what? She had car trouble this morning. So she couldn't make it. Yeah.
Happens.
I'll be filling her in and just how things went. That's so stressful. I know, especially when there's like pending things. Yeah, and then you're like, expecting a buddy. It's okay. I mean, I think we do our best to prepare.
Yeah, you guys did a good job. You guys done a really good job.
But yeah, Daniela, like I was telling Mary, if you have any feedback for us as facilitators to make it more engaging, or if something wasn't heard.
Yeah, we're starving.
Oh, yeah, it's dinner time. We don't want to eat.
No, you're right. I have to. That's why I was planning to eat over here in the corner. That's why I put myself in the corner. I set myself perfect.
It's so close too.
Mm-hmm. I'm hungry.
Yeah, feel free to let me know if there's anything I can do to make these a little bit more open and welcoming for you.
No, perfect. You've been doing great.
Yeah, thank you.
Mariela? Mari? Mariela? Madeline? Oh. Madeline. That's great at your corner. The community, yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you involved at all at the
No. Why?
I'm just curious. Well, do you get involved with like the city politics?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not with the school district, I know. Fighting with the developer piece. With him. Why? Oh, yeah.
I'm less involved with the district, so I don't know anything that's going on.
Okay. Yeah, they want to raise the fees for developer fees. So we can't build because the fees are higher than everyone else in the valley.
Yeah?
Yeah, like 3 times.
Sorry for interrupting. And if your phone number so like in future, if you don't mind getting your phone number so I can always like maybe give you like more of a heads up because I know that we tried but it was like I know I'm kind of that way too. Like you can send me an email, but I always appreciate the phone calls. And sometimes it's hard to like see. So I just wanted to if because I don't have your number. So let me read that. Like te lo escribo. I don't have a card. Oh yeah, if a number that you're okay with sharing, and I won't share with anybody, just so I can maybe I can give you this. Honestly, locals and Mr. General, so I'll give you my personal one. Yeah. Because the general one, it gets lost sometimes. Yeah, and I know in this is probably one of my harder, ha sido un tema de los más difíciles, porque even with all the, like, I had a database of like todos los troqueros, like the ones that CDP and the CHP folks like send information to. Y de todos modos, it's not easy to reach out. Yeah. No, yeah. No, so yeah, I'll let you. I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to say that. My number and then like because the email that I have is right because I know it's the see that one is our general one. Let me give you my personal work one. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's my direct one. Okay, awesome.
Okay, I'm gonna give us a little bit of a warning to come on back. We'll start in about 1 minute.
Perfect.
All right, I'd like to invite everybody back as we continue on with our discussion today. Hope everybody enjoyed their break, got to stretch a little bit, got some food. All right, thanks everyone. All right. So thank you all up until this point for your active participation. It's really appreciated. And we have now reached the item on our agenda to talk about the Ormesa 1 initial study. And with that, I'm happy to pass it on to our co-chairs to bring that information forward.
Yes, so Monica Sucier will be discussing the CEQA for the Ormesa initial study. Again, this is another opportunity for the committee members and the community itself to provide comments on these type of projects. CEQA is an environmental analysis that is done for every project that is going to have release emissions. So it's a very good opportunity for our community to know about these type of projects and comment on them should they have any environmental effects. So Monica?
Hello, Ismael Garcia, Environmental Coordinator with the Air Pollution Control District. So as they said, we're just presenting this project. It's at the Ormesa 1 facility. We're looking for input from the CSC committee and the public regarding the project. What they're proposing is to add a new Ormat energy converter, which we're just calling the OEC. They currently have 2 that are operational at this facility, and they're proposing to add one and increase the power generation by 4.23 megawatts. The project would also require the removal and rebuilding of an existing foundation in order for it to be suitable for the OEC. As part of like the review process, the current facility is on the Bureau of Land Management lands. So BLM completes a NEPA process, which is essentially the federal equivalent of the CEQA process. So this NEPA documents were completed for the whole facility in 2006, I believe. And as part of this project, they issued a NEPA adequacy that the existing files are adequate to cover this project as well. So essentially, it's already been okayed by the federal environmental review process, and we're just doing our due diligence through the California process. We are preparing an initial study, which is the first level of environmental review for the project. And like I said, we are asking for inputs and comments as far as the initial study or any comments on the project itself that we can take into consideration. At this time, we're asking you to submit written comments by July 14th. Yes, what I was going to say is that the review has encountered a few delays. We are anticipating that there will be future comments available as part of the permitting public comment process at minimum. We did want to get it in early because we were anticipating that you would be going dark next month, and we are anticipating to provide an update with any comments that we have received or to open up to comments during your next meeting as well. At this time, I'd open it up to any questions for clarification.
Just real quick, Ismael, can you provide, or you're providing the map, can you provide a little bit of where the address is and what Ormesa does? Just real quick, just so they'll know. Some people are not familiar what Ormesa is.
Sure. So I don't have the address right off. Let me grab the sundry. But in general, it's to the southeast of Hopeville, north of the hot springs off the Interstate 8. And it's an ORMAT geothermal facility under ORMESA. All of those plants together are called the ORMESA complex. And the red star up most northernmost is the ORMESA one, whereas the actual facility where the OEC would be installed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see we do have. Thank you. Thank you so much for that information. I see we do have one question or two questions and comments from our CSC members. John, I saw your card first. Please take it away.
So my first question is, this project is not within the AB 617 corridor, am I correct?
It is not.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good enough for that question. The second thing is that I would imagine that this whole process requires a public hearing, requires going before the county who sits as the air pollution control district to review, and that perhaps since this is an upgrade to something that's been there for decades, that there's an extensive docket with Imperial County Planning Commission relating to the historical permitting process on this. So I think that in this venue, which is AB 617 corridor concerns, that our time would be better spent on those issues that have been raised over the last 5 years that we haven't addressed. I just want to leave that as a comment. I don't need answers. I think I can answer a lot of my own questions, and we'll review and keep my eyes open when the public hearing and try to at least research this a little bit to get a good overview and try to understand this. So it's so complicated, this stuff.
No, I understand, John, but sometimes this is the correct venue in order for us to address these type of comments, because not only you're part of the CSC, but you're part of Imperial Valley. So these type of programs, this type of projects are occurring in the valley. And sometimes we do need your input or the community's input when it's going to trigger some type of emission increases, and it will impact not only the project, but it will impact the Imperial Valley. And we do have some requirements in order to provide information to the community as well. So this is the reason we're here. We understand, you mentioned the Planning Commission. This is a federal project, and the APCD will be the lead. And Monica could expand on that information, but it is important for us to bring you these type of projects for your input, because it's a public comment period.
So just to expand on what Monica Soucier. So to expand a little bit on what Belen, and just to confirm, this is a federal project where the Planning Commission does not have any jurisdiction, nor does the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Directors for the Air Pollution Control District does. And so that is why the Air Pollution Control District is lead in this project. And so we're just doing this to make sure that we're touching as many of the public as we can. Just because something has been in a place forever and ever doesn't mean that it shouldn't be looked at. You don't, I personally feel that renewable energy is good when done right. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I do know we have one comment from our CSC members. Then
I'm Daniela Flores. I'm not familiar with this, so thanks for bringing this forward. I found myself just kind of wanting more information about the environmental impacts that were found. Even if they meet regulations, we already know that regulations sometimes it's not that it's a healthy level, but it's an acceptable level. And so to make some comments and submit them, I would just love orientation of where I can find the full documents with the environmental impacts that were found, and that to me would be needed to be able to kind of provide any thoughts on the comment period. But yeah, thank you.
So just really quickly, that's why we're here. We're putting those together. So you're more than welcome to, it's an initial study. The study has 26 categories. It discusses, okay, why am I drawing a blank here? I do this. Here, you want to talk about it? Well, yeah, but aesthetics, forestry, agriculture, energy, water, soil, services, public services, fire, sheriffs. Those are all the categories that are looked at. And yeah, absolutely. We hope to have something really put together for the August where you can actually look at it and go, okay, yeah, this makes sense, or it doesn't make sense. Hey, what about this or whatever. But yeah, we definitely, and we can provide you prior initial studies that have been done in the past.
I think the priors would be really helpful. And then just curious, because I know the deadline to submit comments is July 14th. And if we're going to get more information about, I know it's helping inform the study. So I understand that. So just wondering at the August, at that point, can we still provide input? Pretty much. Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you. I saw 2 comment cards turn. Paulo and Virginia, I see yours is turned on. Yours answer? Okay, great. Go for it, Paulo.
Hi, Paolo Alvarado, and I am employed by the parent company that owns Ormesa, the sites. But just as kind of an outside view, when I hear about things like this and what you have old equipment that either failed or is no longer in service or is being upgraded. And I think this is a good example of one of those projects where just like if you had an old car, right? You had an old beat up car, it's gonna release a lot more emissions. And they're replacing it with newer technologies. One of the things that is kind of overlooked when projects like this come out is the fact that maybe there's more volume or the generations increase, so that means there's more potential for emissions. But there's also a greatly updated technologies that come along with that, right? So seals that come out and other leak detection devices that are out there. So I kind of look at it that way. If I was going to, looking to upgrade my 1977 Monte Carlo and I get a 2023 model hybrid electric, then there's a lot of value in that, right? And so as just a community member, not speaking on behalf of ORMAT at all, I think that replacing older technologies with newer technologies does have values because there's just newer technology out there that can prevent those emissions, because that's what that's what everybody's trying to do now, right? Is to lower these emissions. And the same for these type of projects. And I don't know specifics about this project. I do know some things from my work with the company, but I'm sure that it's going to have the latest and greatest technology. So I think it has to have benefit to emissions. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Christian?
Yeah, thank you, Paulo, for those insights. I am following off that. I want to ask a question, and maybe this is to Monica as well. Is you talked about the categories that are going to go in the report or the study, and based on what Paulo's saying, is there a baseline and then the future emissions that is targeted in that report? I think that, based on what he's saying, if that's the case, I think that explains a lot of what the benefits are if technology is being upgraded or things are being shifted.
Right. So, no, I have a tendency to keep my APCD hat on, so I apologize for that because I talked way too And if I'm not making any sense, please stop me. Okay. So essentially, CEQA doesn't look for the whole of that facility. It's just looking at what they're proposing to do. Is that what they're proposing to do affecting any of these categories negatively in any way? And if it is, what is the degree? Is it significant or is it less than significant? Because let's talk about power generation and new technologies. You can have the best of the best, but if your system doesn't work correctly because you don't have something that is supposed to be doing, that potential is brought out. It's in the manufacturer, whatever. Okay, then you have a problem. That technically is not usually an issue because it goes through a different process later on after the CEQA is done. It goes through a permitting process. That permitting process gets into the detail, gets into the whole of the facility, not just what they're proposing to do. CEQA just looks at just what you're proposing.
So
That makes sense?
yeah, so if I'm understanding correctly, CEQA is only going to look at impacts, positive or negative, or how much on just the construction of or addition of this additional equipment.
Yes.
Now it's not going to look at long term.
It's not going to look at the whole facility. No.
Okay.
Thank you. See, Paolo, I don't know if that's no worries. Thanks so much. Okay, any other questions from our CSC members? Any other questions from our community members present or online? Okay. So no hands are raised and nothing on our online platforms. So thank you again for sharing those details with us. I'm happy to move us along to our next agenda item, which is an Imperial County AB 617 open discussion. I'm happy to pass it along to our co-chairs to provide some guidance on our open discussion item.
Yeah, at this time, it's just an open discussion. Anybody has any type of questions, comments, concerns, you're welcome to address them, and we'll try to respond to them as best as we can.
Thank you, Belen. Any comments, questions, concerns? Okay, I see 2 cards up. Mary.
Is it working? Is it working? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, thank you. I just want to say the excellent work of everybody involved. I think if all of you were not all getting it together, everybody's just so awesome, and I'm so pleased to be part of this team. I'm hoping that we just have more of an audience, more participation. That's been my little gripe ever since, but I just don't want it to go away. I don't even know how we can do it to bring more attention to, the concerns that are going on right now with the Imperial County. I just don't know. I see a little bit of the commercials, like 30 seconds, 20 seconds. But really, I don't see maybe a person, an individual, one of your members to just talk instead of just the commercial of the participation of the group. That's about it. But I don't know. We need just to do something more to be a more passionate, emotional, kind of come in and help us participate and just get involved, get people to get involved, the community. I think we're just kind of drifting from putting more attention to this. I know there's huge issues in Calexico with traffic, trucks. Thank you for all the information, which I kind of was happy. When I make a line, I don't see all the trucks next door, putting my mask on, reverse air, because, they're all right next to you on the East Port, and you're there for 2 hours throughout. And we've never really had nothing change from that. It's been 30 years and it's still 2-3 hours. People just expect it, and they're just killing us slowly but surely, and people dying of, why am I sick? Why am I sick? And I want to say, oh my God, if you only knew, but they don't. It's don't want to scare everybody out of town, but it is my concern. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm so passionate. I just don't know what else we can do is, put up flyers out there in Calexico with all these cars lining up that we're here and we want to help, and how do we bring more attention to our community versus, with the ABC 617. Most people don't even know that we exist. Like I've been saying, and we've been here, what, 4 years, John? 4 or 5 years? 4 or 5 years. It's still, what do you guys do? And I'm like, oh my God, it's exasperating. But anyway, thank you so much. That's my comment for today.
Thank you, Mary. John, I did see your card was up earlier.
Said it all.
Covered it. Yes, please.
Comments for discussion. I'm all for focusing on geothermal. That's what we want to do, especially with 500 megawatts in the pipeline for lithium extraction and geothermal production and development, and see how that's going to impact the air quality in the whole basin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for that. Mm-hmm. But I'm here for specific purpose, which is community air monitoring and emissions reduction in the corridor. And some of those big issues that we brought up and brought up over the last 5 years, and we've done discussion after discussion, are ag burden, resources, leveraging resources. We have, like I said, opportunities with the border region. We're a disadvantaged community, no doubt about it. We have funding out there from state and federal agencies. We need to assign someone that's what they do, to go after these grants, to leverage these things that we're needing. Ag burning, big thing. I think we need to engage our Imperial County, we have a big section of our corridor that's unincorporated area, and we need to have the public works and the city public works and planners, bring this information as to where they think that some of these things that are on a regional level being looked at, that we're experiencing in the local level, which is, the truck routes and the emissions and the mobile sources and that sort of thing. I'm just noticing after this winter, there's an enormous amount of mud and tracking going on all over our communities. And who's taking a look at that? I just met with a city manager and told him, hey, man, our streets aren't being swept. I see the street sweeper coming, trying to sweep the streets when the streets are full of cars and trash cans because it's trash day. How is that possible? And this is dust. This is dust because of the wind events that we're having in our neighborhoods. This is all dust. So these truck routes is tracking the more and more increased parking in our neighborhoods and storage containers or curbs and gutters that haven't been developed in 100 years in some of the neighborhoods. And my point of reference is, east side El Centro. And I appreciate Calexico and I appreciate, Brawley and all these things, but we need to be equitable, Calexico, Heber, etc. We just did a real nice project here in Heber, that was great. We've done some paving projects, that's great. And I'm glad to hear we're going to have another RFP that's going to go out in August for that. But we need to have that technical committee or that ad hoc committee that we've been talking about for the last 5 years and never materialized. So, I'm here for the to have some type of meaningful input on the corridor, and if not, I'll stay home and watch the novelas like the rest of the people my age. But no, I'm here for the future generations, for these people that I heard at Southwest, where 8-10 years ago we tried to put a monitor, they didn't even want it. I was sitting there when they turned us away. But yeah, we got attention from the outside. We got the AB 617. We got this thing we got going now. So I think we can have some good positive impacts with what now the science and the information that's out there that we can use. County viral screen, the, disadvantaged communities, all these things. So I think that we need to really get our team, get all our seats filled. We still have some open seats here. We have to get all our seats filled and really continue with this thing that we're trying to do. And I think we're learning as we go along. And I'm glad to be here. So I'm going to hang in there. I'm not going to quit. So thank you for the opportunity to provide my input.
Thank you, John. Thanks for your comment. I think we can take 2 more comments. I see we have Paulo and then Michael.
Thank you, Paolo Alvarado. So yeah, thanks, Mary and John. I wanted to say real quickly about the comments about engagement. We do have Southwest. I think they might have left already, but I wanted to say, I think that's the right way to go, right? If we approach the youth, and high schools are great, but we also have a junior college, IVC, that the youth of today are really engaged in environmental issues, right? It's a big deal to them, and I don't know how we're reaching out to potentially people at the IVC level. There's San Diego State University campus in Calexico as well, but as many of you know, the youth of today can circulate information way quicker than even and I still consider myself a pretty young guy, but they can move things quickly with all their social media devices and things that they use. So if we could really outreach those type of people to get them involved and interested, and I think that a lot of them already are interested, just because that's what really the youth of today, that's what they're interested in. So I think those are potentials to get more people in here. Like John said, maybe the people at home watching the novelas will choose to stay home and watch the novelas, but these other kids might, or youths might get interested in these issues that we're discussing here, and I see that can really move this thing forward positively and get a lot of visibility out there. So general comment there. The other one I wanted to ask about was just, there's a couple of RFPs out, right? And I'm a new member. I think I've attended 4 meetings so far, but I don't understand like how those come to us, or what information. Like he said, there's a paving one out there. That was the first time I had heard of it. So just having more knowledge of what the district's trying to get out there and what's going to be brought to this committee, I think is helpful, so that we can start thinking about it earlier. Some things are already closing, and we'll just get to vote on it, but I think understanding more of what's happening and being able to share that with the community, as getting that information is helpful. So I don't know if that was done before I got here, but just understanding what that process is for me, I think is important as a new member.
Okay, and my comment was along the kind of aligning with Paulo's as far as the RFP and the funding and the things that we're going to be up against. If we could get some anticipation of what kind of communication there might be, since we are dark in July, what we might anticipate, as Daniela was mentioning, the feeling of being unprepared on the last time, and a whole lot of decisions to be made and stuff like that. So if, Belen, you have any kind of guidance of, hey, this detailed information is planned to be emailed to the committee, or what kind of communication you anticipate might be done between now and our next meeting, and things along those lines for funding, I think that would be helpful to know tonight. Yeah, if you have something.
Thank you all so much for your comments during our open discussion. Just as a quick time check, we are at 7:25, and we do need to go through a few more items. So I'm happy to shuffle us along to the next item, but please, yes.
Real quick, just to answer the questions, I think it would be a great idea to bring back, and we were planning on it, the project that we did before. The projects that are in progress at this time. For instance, we do have the paving project for $4.1 million in Heber. and Public Works is going to be here in the next August meeting, just to discuss that project itself. So I think it'll open up discussion more what the RFP means, why they're out there, and why we need to do them. But yes, this discussion is going to be very much needed. If you allow us, we could send you information of the projects that are already finalized, plus the projects that are being in place at this time. I think that'll help with what we have in place right now. And those are not the only things or only projects that we are able to do under AB 617. These are the projects that at that time the committee voted for. But we're open to ideas. The funding is there, and we're going to do probably another survey with projects that are done in other districts. I think we did it in the beginning, but we have a lot new members as well. So John could also provide us with the projects that he's always mentioning in the east side. Maybe some of us we could touch base on directly. So yeah, I think bringing back information because we do have a lot of members.
Should I take 10 seconds? A suggestion, just we are expecting applications for the RFPs that are going to be closing and the ones that are going to be coming in August. So I mean, I feel comfortable that once we get those applications, I mean, we do call the committee members, so that maybe that could turn into the technical committee that will have that information beforehand, so that once the projects are presented to the committee, then you won't feel like, oh, we're pushing you to vote for these projects. So we'll expect a call from us, and at the same time, maybe ask questions about because I know so we could update our website with the current members too. Okay.
Great, thank you so much. And with that, I am happy to open up a discussion around our agency updates.
Yeah, the California Air Resources Board, we do have 2 members here and they have updates.
Great. Carp, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cynthia Ortiz. I am your new OCAP liaison for Imperial. The Calexico, Heber, and El Centro area, Adriana Juarez, who was the prior liaison for you guys from CARB, she is now going to be the liaison for the Phase 1 community that was selected. So nice to meet you all. My name is Cynthia Ortiz once again. If you guys have any questions about about AB 617, I would be your go-to. And some updates that I want to share, I hope is good news for you guys, just hearing your guys' concerns. So the first one is that we do have the AB 617 blueprint that was posted. So every 5 years, we do revisit the blueprints that we created, and that kind of helps us to reassess, the strategies that we implemented 5 years ago. Were they successful? And it allows us to improve it. So right now, those guidelines are open. They're posted and available for public comment. We need to hear from you guys. I will push the link to Belen tomorrow. Sorry, I don't have that with me right now. We do have the English version right now available only online, and we're working on the Spanish version. But if you guys could please review it and provide public comment, because this blueprint is what sets the foundation for how AB 617 is ran. So it covers all 3 funding pots, with cap incentives being one of them. So that's really important. This is where I want to say community input really matters, because we're setting the standard for the state. So we really, really want to hear from you guys. That public comment period closes on July 31st. So you guys have some time to review it. The second update that I wanted to provide is that we will be having workshops to discuss the blueprint, where you guys can come with questions. We have 3 scheduled for July. The first one is July 7th from 5 to 7. The second one is July 11th from 5 to 7. Those 2 will be held in English with other language translations. The one on July 18th will be facilitated in Spanish, and we'll have translation services. So you guys are welcome to come to either of those. I will push to Belen again the link so that you guys can sign up. Another update that we have is the CAP Community Air Protection Incentive Guidelines, which sets the foundation for how the CAP incentives could be spent, is also being revised. And in that process, just to give you guys a little bit idea of what we're doing, is we're taking all the projects, all the community identified projects that have been implemented throughout the state, every approved project that's been approved for a CERP community, they're going to be turned into chapters. So now, I mean, you guys are a CERP community, but you won't necessarily have to have a CERP addressing that issue in order to implement a project type. So for example, we're turning urban greening into a chapter, some on-road projects, off-road projects, ag burning, stuff that can address like paving. You guys have paving. We have some districts that also included bike paths so that people can, increase walkability and rideability and stuff like that. So that's going to be rolling out maybe next month. I'll keep you guys posted, but just TBD. And then the third thing is we are developing a CAP incentives 101 tool that's intended to guide the community members, and not just CSC members, but college students, the high schoolers, parents at the elementary schools. It's an interactive tool that lets people, that's intended to help you guys understand CAP incentives, what our limitations are, what the role you guys as community members can play, because you don't know what to ask for if you don't know your rights, right? And it includes also, so you guys can understand the district's role, what their limitations are. So we will be rolling that out along with the CAP guideline updates. So just I'll keep you guys posted on that, but just FYI, that is coming, and I'm hoping that's going to help you guys address some of your outreach. It'd be another tool. If you guys have any other questions, you guys are always welcome to reach out to me. Belen has my email. I don't have any business cards with me, but that's all I have. Thank you, guys.
That was wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Vicky Hanks, and Cynthia was the Moyer liaison, but now I am. I took it from her, sorry. So I'm here, Carl Moyer liaison for Imperial. Also, if you have any incentive questions, feel free to ask me those too. It's my second time here, and I've just really enjoyed it, so I came back. I don't have as many great updates as CAP, unfortunately. However, we're slowly updating the Carl Moyer guidelines. And so one of the chapters we're going to be asking for feedback for is the off-road chapter, which is definitely something that gets used a lot here. And so keep an eye out for those workshops. We don't have dates on that yet, but as soon as we do, we definitely will share that information. But yeah, it's just nice to meet everybody, and great work, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for those updates. Quickly, any updates from CCV? Anything to share?
None at this time.
Thank you. And then any updates, Belen?
Just real quick, besides CAP incentive programs, we do have in-house grant programs, just like we did the lawn equipment exchange program. We just finalized that. It's an annual program that we do. We had an 5-year contract with the Greenworks, which would provide us with the EGO zero emissions lawnmowers and equipment. This year, we're trying to go local. The program is going to change, so that's the update I have.
Great. Thank you both so much. And thank you to all of our agencies today for providing these great updates. Yes, please do.
Oh, this is Israel Hernandez, and I'm just 10-15 seconds. I'm really excited with the CAP guidelines, because that opens up our ability to invest in every single project, or in projects that have already been identified in other communities. I mean, it's really exciting news, and we're looking forward to that. And obviously, we're going to be passing on that information. Also, just real quick, I mean, we do have our kickoff meeting For the north end, we are planning to have it on July 26th in Brawley. That's something that has been that we've been scheduled recently. Okay. Just to quickly also, we do have an urban greening RFP for the Salton Sea communities also, and that one's going to be over. It's going to end by the end of July, I believe, July 28th or 26th. So, all right, thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Israel, for that update. With that, I'd like to open it up for our agenda topics for our next meeting. I would like to invite our CSC members to propose any agenda items for future meetings, and our co-chairs will kick off the conversation, and I will facilitate any questions and answers following.
As mentioned, July is going to be a dark month. However, in August, we are anticipating having Public Works come and discuss the 4.1 million project that they have in Heber. And we will be discussing other projects that either they're still pending or have finalized. Maybe that way we could get an idea of what Israel meant about the projects that were implemented here and projects that are implemented in other districts where we could implement here as well.
Yeah, and also in the pipeline, as you might recall, we have been working with UC Davis, who is doing analysis on the particulate matter data for all of Ivan, but they're trying to help us with the focus on the 617 monitors, so specifically the Calexico, Heber, and El Centro locations. They do have an analysis in the pipeline looking at PM 2.5 along the border region. So they looked at the monitors that are spanning across Calexico and are moving up. So that's in the it's on the queue, but given our new structure where we're trying to not top load the meetings with presentations, and you guys have the grant RFP review process coming up, we want to make sure that you guys are aware of that. And Davis is going to be prepared to try to do that, and it'll probably be might be on a Zoom month just because of their travel. But I just wanted to keep you guys aware.
Thank you so much. Daniela, did you have a comment? Okay, sounds good. Right, with that, we did update with the possibility of July being a dark month. And so I wanted to open it up as a motion for July to be the... Thanks,
Second.
John. Thanks, Daniela. Any discussion regarding July as our dark month? Okay, I think we can start the votes.
Michael Moore? Nope.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Oh, okay, thank you. So just real quick, Israel, just so we have it in the record, John proposed the motion and Daniela seconded that. Thank you.
Okay. Michael Moore? Yes. Mary Salazar? Yes. John Hernandez? Virginia Mendoza?
Yes.
Pablo Alvarado?
Yes.
Jose Landeros?
Yes.
Gilberto Manzanares?
Yes.
And Daniela Flores?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you so much. And with that, we've reached the final item of our agenda. So thank you everybody for hanging in there as we went a little over time. Are there any CSC members who would like to make a closing remark? We got, sounds good. Well, then I'd like to welcome back our co-chairs for a closing remark.
Well, thank you very much for being here today. Our next meeting will be through Zoom as presented. And sorry for going over this time.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, everybody. It's been a long day, so hopefully everybody gets home to some rest now.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening. Meeting is adjourned.